I was thinking how thankful I am that we didn't have any power outages, because we had probably half an inch of ice in the storm. You know what? I was also thinking, Mom was down there vacuuming. I was thinking we should come up with some sort of a original father-son voiceover podcast penalty box. Seriously, where if
we deduct points and stuff like that.
Well, we could do that, or we could just. Here's what would be more of a penalty box for some people: if they interrupted us somehow, like came and knocked on the door, or she started to vacuum, or we could make them come up here and they had to be a guest. They had to be a guest for 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Didn't matter what their hair looked like. It didn't matter, what they were dressed in. Obviously, we want them clothed and stuff.
Yeah, that would be.
But they'd
essential.
be in the penalty box, and they'd have to come up here and answer questions or, talk to us about things. And I guess I was wondering who you thought maybe would be the first person that would probably be the biggest offender and in our penalty box regularly for interrupting us.
I think probably it would be between either Deshaun with his four-wheeler, or it's either Deshaun or Mom, because all the other boys know better than to come into the house and just. The others will forget. Like Deshaun won't care. He'll just I'm going to get on my four-wheeler, and Mom will definitely just. Yeah.
I forgot about Deshaun. That's right. He probably would be doing that, but I thought also about Jonathan. Because John might just forget.
Wiener Malloy.
Yeah, he might just forget and head up here and, just forget that we're doing a podcast.
Hey guys, what's going on? We're in the middle of recording our podcast, John.
Yeah. So anyway, what are we going to cover today? What do we got?
Looks like we're going to talk about kind of the inspiration of our name, break that down.
Okay.
Let people know about our segments, what they can expect to see.
Okay.
And then talk about some uniquenesses of why we decided to do this, and similarities and differences between, especially you and I, as it pertains to voiceover and life in general.
Okay.
So that's kind of what it's going to look like. So
sounds good for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, you ready?
Hey, this is Bill DeWeese, pro voiceover talent and voiceover career coach. And this is the original Father-Son Voiceover Podcast.
Hi, welcome back. Dad's going to run us through what he's been thinking about for our pilot and go through some of the segments that we have, the uniqueness, similarities, and break down the name. So that's what you can expect.
Well, I guess I thought one of the things we should do is talk about our name. I think that's kind of the fun. And it's not something we just did willy-nilly. I mean, we thought about this and talked about it over the last few months. And so we came up with the, quote, original, end quote, Father, Son, parenthesis, voiceover, podcast. And so there's a reason that we did it that way. First, the original, in quotation marks, is we don't know. We probably aren't the original Father-Son podcast. In fact, I think we know that we're not. There's other Father-Son podcasts for sure. But we also thought about the fact that we're unique. Is a Father-Son podcast. It's you and I, and we're going to talk about some unique things. We're going to have some special guests, some interviews, and things like that. And so it is going to be original. It'll be original to us anyway. We just didn't want to get sued by saying we're the original and not put quotation marks around it.
Imagine that start.
Yeah.
That'd be a little bit rough.
Yeah, it'd be the beginning of the end, wouldn't it? And then I don't know if you want to talk about the Father-Son. I mean, that's somewhat obvious, but you're not my only son.
Yeah, there's also 5 others, and one way or another, we're all entangled in this voiceover realm. Whether we want to or not, we're stuck in it. I do my own voiceover. Obviously, you do your own voiceover. But then Mom does invoicing for you and editing. Damon does all sorts of video editing, audio stuff for the VOMP team and stuff like that. All the videos that go out. And then John, Drew, and Joe are kind of the three-headed monster for VOMP. And so they do all all things. Joe runs kind of all the email setups. John's also there with him, and then Drew does some stuff on the side since he still works in bonds at his insurance business.
Yeah.
So,
and then the other thing was, so that's the father-son. And of course, Hudson and I are going to be behind the camera most of the time. Demond is here doing the camera switching and such. And so he does the post-production stuff. And then we have voiceover. So it's the original father-son voiceover. And the reason we put that in parenthesis, because we're going to talk a lot about voiceover. That's just going to be the way it is. As you said, all of us are somehow connected to voiceover, whether it's direct email marketing and marketing in VO Marketing Pro or VOMP, or it's our business or Damon doing stuff related to voiceover. But we're also going to do some things that aren't related to voiceover. We're going to do family things. We're going to talk about things that we do as family members. I mean, you and several other brothers are athletes. All the boys are athletes. You guys play basketball together. Some of you play on a pretty, high-level baseball team during the summer. And, so there's lots of things that we do together. So you're going to get a sneak peek behind that, and we're going to have other guests down the road that might not even be involved in voiceover. They just might be our friends, or they might be people that we interact with. You might go on a tour here or there. Around our area to different places. Maybe we will even come and visit some of the folks that are watching or some of the people who are part of VO Marketing Pro. We've talked about, taking off in the car or flying and visiting some people and having, kind of a good time with them. Maybe even doing a live, podcast from with those folks.
And they're going to get to know us either way, whether they want to or not. So they're going to be real close, and guess you'll have to deal with it.
This is kind of forced, yeah. So that's our name.
Yeah.
It's a breakdown of our name.
Perfect. And then after that, we have a couple different segments that we're going to have that you can count on each time. There's going to be 3 of them. So the first segment will be something that is something you've maybe seen before. It's related to VOMP. It'll be kind of Dad's word of wisdom to people, encouragement, stuff like that. Maybe your numbers. Just something you can expect that's fairly normal, but we'll be doing it from this area instead of him in his studio. So that's one of them.
We're also going to have interviews. Lots of different people we have. They don't know it yet, but we're going to be contacting them to see if they'll be on the program. Because, it's not going to be just simply, and this is going to be part of the VO in parenthesis, we're going to talk to people about things that aren't necessarily related to VO, because people have very interesting lives and they do a whole host of things. And you just hear about their voiceover side of things, which you hear about our voiceover side of things, like when I do my Friday updates for VO Marketing Pro or Todd's Tips. But this is going to give you a peek not only inside of our family and our lives apart from voiceover or connected to voiceover, but our guests too. And we've got some great guests. They're fun, they're interesting, and they do very well in voiceover.
And I think we want to see what got them to voiceover, all the things leading up, what pushed them towards that, because that'll be something that you and I talk about as well as the different things that whether it was your background, my background, what things brought us to this point. So that'll be something that you can look out for with the interviews. So hopefully that'll be exciting. Yeah.
And then the third segment we're always going to have, at least planning right now, and again, we're probably going to add some segments as we go along, but the third for sure is going to be our update, our week, and it's going to be for VO Marketing Pro, their update, their numbers, how many jobs they booked for the different people on our voice roster and direct email marketing, auditions, warm replies. We're going to talk through our week. We're going to see where you are as far as your week, and we're going to go through my numbers like I always do for the VO Marketing Pro update. So I think that'll be fun too, because I think that'll give us an opportunity to talk about challenges that you had and challenges that I had and successes that we had, wins that we had, how your voiceover career is going, how mine is, our plans, all those types of things.
And maybe you mentioned this already, but it'll also be kind of a space where people maybe who are watching can ask us questions and
exactly.
they can, have the same advice that you would give to me so that it's somewhat realistic and not maybe sugar coated. So that's what we hope to accomplish there. So is there anything else that you would like to mention?
We talked about not so much segments, but we talked about the uniqueness and similarities, differences between a father and son. And of course, it's kind of interesting because Hudson just turned 26 and I'm going to turn 62. So you invert those a little bit. You got a 62 and a 26-year-old, but totally different generations. And so that just gives us opportunities. Yes, there's a lot of things that we have in common, growing up in my family and all of the siblings and such. So we got lots of stories and different things that, we're doing. We do voiceover together. We both played sports, on and on and on. But there's just such a difference because when I was 26 years old, the world was so different. And some of you, who are
especially
watching
technologically.
Yeah. And some of the folks that are watching are my age or around my age. Some are quite a bit younger. And so, there's the tech. I mean, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have computers. I think I was like 35 years old before we got a junky old computer in our basement. And so you've grown up with that. You've grown up with cell phones. And so people say that I'm all over, social media. Well, that's not my doing. If I am, that's not my doing.
That couldn't be true.
Can't be.
You wouldn't be able to stumble across being all over.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So there's just a big difference. And even in voiceover, there's a big difference. You have a hobo fort and a little bit cheaper, if you will.
An Apogee.
Yeah, Apogee microphone and a, what do they call that ball, that styrofoam ball? Chaotica eyeball. And I have a whisper room in the basement. And I have a Neumann TLM 102.
A little bit more professional.
Yeah. And so, there's a difference in that. And that's very different from what it was when I was 26 years old. You had to be in a major city to go to a studio, and you were probably a middle-aged man because that's what voiceover was back then. Now you can do it from the comfort of your own home.
You had to pay somebody to use their studio, correct?
Yeah,
or maybe
the agent or whoever hired you had to book that studio, and you worked out of there. And so things have changed so dramatically, from when I was your age and even over the last 10 or so years. So I think that'll be great. We also, of course, I've been in voiceover for 12 years now. You've been just in it for...
Yeah. Our first episode will actually be my first year in voiceover.
The anniversary.
The anniversary.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you'll get to hear about all my struggles.
Yeah, and
good and bad.
And because of my family and great help that I have and the work that we've done, I've been able to garner a multi-six-figure voiceover, and you're just starting out. So there's going to be this uniqueness with similarities between us, but also some differences. And hopefully that will help people that are just starting out and, just getting chugging along. And it'll also help people maybe that are farther ahead than I am. Maybe they'll give us feedback and things to think about, and we can talk about those things. Or people that are somewhere in between. I think it'll be a lot of fun to talk about those types of things.
Yeah, we definitely hope it's hopeful for all sorts of people.
Yeah, so, right.
Is that...
I think that's all we got to cover, I think.
Well, next segment, we'll be interviewing the #1 trusted voiceover coach in all of voiceover, voted by voices.com.
Hey, how you doing? This is Todd, and I'm glad you're part of the original Father-Son Voiceover podcast. We'll get back to more of the podcast in just a second. I just wanted to tell you about another company that I'm a part of. It's a company that I helped start with my 6 adult sons called VO Marketing Pro. VO Marketing Pro, or VOMP, is just simply a company that helps market, especially direct email marketing for voiceover talent, maybe somebody just like you. And if you want to find out more about it, all you have to do is just look below. There are links, there's a phone number there, and there's all sorts of information out there on the internet. Just Google VO Marketing Pro, and you'll get our YouTube page, our Facebook page, our website, and you can check us out. So make sure you do that. And now let's get back to more of the original Father-Son Voiceover podcast.